Hello, everybody, and welcome to another NintendoFuse Game Chat. Today, we're talking all about Darkstar One Nintendo Switch Edition for the Nintendo Switch. So, Darkstar One is a sci-fi open-world space opera that originally released back on the PC back in 2006 and then got an updated Xbox 360 version in 2008. And now Calypso Media has brought it over to the Switch with some added updates. And a fair disclosure, Calypso Media did provide us review codes for that, so thank you very much. So this is an open world retro space opera. You get to pick your style. You could be a pirate, you could be a trader, a mercenary, a bounty hunter, a smuggler, assassin, really whatever you want. You're following in your father's footsteps, and you're assisting and taking jobs and playing however you really want to in this open space area. So let's go to you, Steve, first. And how was your experience with Darkstar One Nintendo Switch Edition?
Yeah. I'd say the opening sequence and everything was really pretty. I think they did a really good job of updating it. I have not played the original on PC, Xbox, any of the original versions of the game. I've never touched them. I wasn't even familiar with this game. I had to actually ask Barry a couple times, like, "What's this game about?" So I have some sort of idea of what I'm getting into, and so completely, ignorant of anything about Darkstar One. And so stepping into this, yeah, immediately was impressed with what I saw from the very beginning. And then we get into this whole backstory that is not really connected. Like it is connected, but it's not obvious that it's connected. Like I had to fill in some gaps, which I thought was interesting. So story wise, I think the story is good, but it's like you forgot to connect that gap because I have to go back and figure out, like, oh, that was my dad. Okay, now I'm his son. I'm following. Okay, cool. Like that wasn't completely obvious. It was easy to fill in the gaps, but it wasn't like laid out for you like it is in a lot of games, movies, books, stuff like that. So figure that out. Going into the tutorial, there's a lot of extra stuff that I don't really think is needed. So, and I think what I found out is like I could definitely tell this was a game that is essentially made to look prettier. The voice acting, all that stuff added makes a great experience, but it wasn't enhanced enough because like after you go through the first level of the tutorial, going through all these different, circles on the screen and everything, great, learn how to control your ship, but then you're like the guy's like follow me to the trade ship or whatever, and I'm like okay cool, and I'm just following him and following him and still following him, and eventually he starts talking to me, and then eventually I have to port my ship and everything, but I'm like we're just going through space and it doesn't really look like we're traveling very far, and I'm just like we could cut this out and just like fast forward right to where you need to me to figure out I need to learn how to dock my ship. Like we don't have to just be going straight for like 45 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever it was, felt like 5 minutes. That was not needed. And then after that, I go into this. So figuring out how to even navigate some of the menus is kind of confusing. You have to hold down on the R button and then release it where it goes instead of hitting the A button. But then I wasn't able to even select some of the other things that it was telling me to select. I don't know if that's a bug or if I was just not completely understanding what it was asking me to do, but eventually I was able to figure out how to go past that somehow. I didn't do what it was asking, but I progressed anyway to the second stage of the tutorial. And that's when it got really confusing for me. Like I was apparently supposed to take out as many pirates as I wanted and then return to the trade ship again to dock and continue moving on. Well, I defeated a handful of pirate ships. Cool. And he says, "Go ahead and head on back. We'll repair your ship." And all these more pirates keep coming out and keep coming out and keep coming out. And so I just keep killing as many as I can, but they're unending. And so I was like, well, I guess I got to head back to the ship. Well, the ship has started shooting at me now. And I'm trying to dock. I'm trying to hit the down button to communicate to say I want to dock. it's not working. It's just talking to the other people, my enemies that are like, I'm going to take you down, or I'm behind you, or I'm coming right for you, or whatever. Just a repeated dialogue over and over and over again. And I cannot dock my ship. And so that's where I am in the game. Like, I cannot dock my ship in the second tutorial stage. And honestly, I don't really care. Like, I don't have any desire to keep moving forward. It was kind of repetitive, the same thing over again. I'm not too fond of like how it looks like in the point of view exactly, and it's kind of Star Fox esque, and but it's not exactly there. And so I'm kind of at this place where I'm not like, I'm sure I could look up to figure out exactly what I need to do, maybe to overcome some challenge that I'm not understanding. But honestly, I don't really care. So I looked up videos and I looked up what the rest of the game can look like, and it looks pretty similar. And so it looks pretty repetitive to me. Haven't experienced it because I haven't got that far, but I don't really want to.
Well, it might be a surprise to Barry, but I share a lot of the same sentiments as Steve. But I do agree a lot of the stuff is very clunky. Like even just like clicking on the tutorial that you're supposed to play, you have to like go into a separate menu, click a mission, and then you have to go out to a completely different menu to like actually like trigger the start of the mission. So I felt like that was unnecessarily clunky. It's like if I'm selecting the mission, yes, I'm taking this mission on, like load it up. Like you have to like it's like a two-step process when it should just really be a one-step process. I did manage to beat the second tutorial level for go past Steve's and made to the third one, and that's where like you're supposed to track down like a certain like satellite thing, but it doesn't even show you like where it's supposed to be. So I'm like just flying around aimlessly through an asteroid belt. There are a few targets that appear. I destroy those, and then like it's still no satellite. So I'm like I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I see these icons and moving all over the like I found like the trade ship. I didn't even really realize it was the trade ship. I'm like, well, maybe I'm supposed to take this thing out, and then that's apparently where you're supposed to dock. And then if you do like fire at it, then it actually does try to take you down. Like, hey, why are you attacking us? Like,
That's probably what I did on accident because I just held my ZR button down constantly because I'm like, there's pirates everywhere. If I'm just spraying and praying, like that's what I
Steve's
think.
just Danny DeVito, and then I just started shooting.
Basically.
yeah, so I was kind of getting more fun with that, and then I was even like trying to get the guy to tell me where this satellite was. So I was like trying to shoot him down. And he's like, "Hey, I'm on your team. Don't shoot me." And did give me some like glimpse of like the Star Fox like with Slippy. It's like, "Hey, like I'm on your side, smart guy," or whatever. And like I did like you can't fully take them down, but you can reduce their health like to like next to nothing, which I did get a little bit of enjoyment out of, like saying, "Hey, you're not telling me where this satellite is, so I'm just gonna take you out because." I can't find it. And then by some like grace, like I got close enough and then it became like a target to select. And then as Steve said, like when you're trying to select, now you can finally select the target and then it's realized you have to like hold down R and then you have to like hit A, but then you have to be within like a certain distance of the actual target to select it. And that was very clunky and very like unnecessary. I wish you could just like select the target and then it could guide me to like where I'm supposed to like fly. Like that would make a lot more sense in an open space and open world game. Like I understand you want to give freedom and exploration to the player, but you also need to give a little bit of guidance on where to go. I mean, I had no idea where this supposed satellite was, and I died on this tutorial mission a few times because I was just having more fun messing around, and like I was crashing into too many asteroids, and it took me out eventually, and so like I had to repeat that tutorial mission several times because it was just trying to figure out where the heck you're supposed to go, and then pretty much once I did finally find this miraculous satellite, then I'm like, okay, I think this is probably enough of this because this is kind of frustratingly difficult to be selecting each mission individually and then to also have to select it again just to trigger the thing, and then you have to go through it and then figure out what they're trying to tell you to do, and then they don't even tell you where to go or how many targets you're supposed to take down or anything like that. It just you're supposed to just kind of figure it out, and then without any sort of guidance, like I'm not really motivated to drive to find everything because the world is so huge. Like I flew all the way back to the trade ship, and that was like far away from the asteroid belt. I was like holding down like the thrusters to go faster to try to reach there, and so it's to me, the game just feels very clunky and unnecessarily large, especially for the tutorial that's supposed to be teaching you how to play and kind of helping you where the targets are and what you're supposed to do. But without any sort of guidance, it just makes it more frustrating and not very enjoyable. At least that's what I found.
So I did the tutorials, and I started doing like escort missions where it was like, I need to go here, and I'm looking for an escort, and you fly along them and you help them get to the locations. And I was like, this, I'm having fun. This is definitely old school or older school, but it's bringing me back to college days, and I'm enjoying it. And suddenly, I got to a point when there was no new missions showing up, and I didn't know what to do. I docked, I checked everything, I flew around, I came back, and I was getting frustrated because now I'm like, I don't know what to do, where to go. So I channeled my inner lawnmower simulator and wanted to see what I can do. So I started attacking other ships, and my meters started going up. And I blew up the other ships, the good ships. So now the police are coming after me, and I'm blowing them up. And now my meters racking. Now it's GTA in space, and I'm attacking the main hub, trying to blow that up. And they're yelling at me and shooting at me, and I must have done this for about 25 minutes of blowing up everything in sight. Good ships, bad ships, it didn't matter. Everything was dying before they finally took me out. And I was like, I love the fact that they allowed me to do that. That is great. I had my fun. I'm done. So I mean, I got some enjoyment out of it. I love the open world of this, but it is, and I know this has a big following. There's a lot of people that absolutely love this series and this game. It is one of those that I feel like you mentioned is a little clunky. Uh, it's a faithful port of the original without modern amenities that have since been added to games um since 2006. And some people love that. You want that authentic experience. That's great. A lot of games now will have like an original mode and like a remixed mode or an enhanced mode where you can play with all modern amenities and targets on where show you where to go and help and ease of things. Maybe you don't have to be as close. You push the button you need to do, and as long as you're semi close, you at least can do the target. Whatever. I wish they did that. I'm glad they brought this to the Switch. I think it's important for game preservation to keep games available, but I do think this game could use some more modern amenities. That being said, there is a big game here. There's a big world, like Greg mentioned. There's a big world. There's a lot of quests, and it's open ended in the sense of you can play however you want to, including being a total asshole and blowing up, your friendly ship. The game allows you to do that, so you make your own bed. So just to recap for you guys, the game right now is $29.99 digitally. It's on sale as of the time of this recording, 10% off to $26.99. But by the time this gets posted, that will probably be gone. So figure $30 is the game. It is available now for the Switch. Steve, we'll go to you. Recommend at that price. Wait for a sale or another sale, or pass entirely.
Yeah, I think if you are a big fan of this franchise, if you like love the fact that it has been ported to Nintendo Switch, it's been enhanced a little bit with graphics and stuff like that, then go after it. In fact, you probably already have the game because you're excited about that. But if you're not sure about it, you've not played the original, you're not into that sort of like all that sort of thing. You're not a diehard Darkstar One fan that has been waiting until this day for the game to come on Switch. I'm gonna not recommend this game. I think there are better experiences out there for a sci-fi space adventure that you could get for the same price or even cheaper.
I kind of echo what Steve said. So if you're obviously a like a cult follower of the game or whatever, or a big fan of the game, you've obviously already gotten it, or you obviously should get it because you're very familiar with how the game plays, and a fresh coat of paint is always really good there. But unless you're really um, interested, I would say you definitely want to wait for like a sale. But otherwise, I would probably say that you most likely should pass on it because the UI is very clunky and there's not it could really use like some updates to help you guide through, especially like the tutorial levels. It's fine if they want to stop after the tutorials. Like that's where like Breath of the Wild does a very good job of telling you like, okay, you have this objective to do, and then now it's open up and you can do what you're doing. So then like you at least have your objectives in place and you know what you're doing, and it even helps you get the tutorial done. I think if a little bit of updates or something to get that fixed in this one would be a little bit more easier to recommend, like either at full cost or even at like a sale. So unless there's no plans for those types of updates, then I would think it might be easier to pass unless you're very familiar with the game and its series.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo and say that there's a great game here with a lot of content, very very replayable, where you could play completely different ways. You could be a smuggler, and then you could be a bounty hunter, and you could be an asshole, whatever you want to do. Um, you just have to know what you're getting into, and you have to know that this is more archaic controls, more archaic systems, and if you're okay with that, then you're getting a lot of bang for your buck at $30. It's a big game, but if that kind of turns you off, if you were hoping for more modern amenities, if this doesn't sound up your alley, then I would say either pass entirely or at least wait for a deeper sale to give it a try, and definitely watch some gameplay videos. I'm sure Steve will have some gameplay videos playing, so you can see some footage. And that's honestly what I would suggest. I mean, it's not a bad game, not by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a dated game with dated kind of controls and interface. And if that's okay for you, then you're going to have a good time. That's what I say. So, just a refresher, Darkstar One Nintendo Switch Edition is available now on the Switch. Again, thank you to Calypso Media for providing us review codes. And if you like game chats like this and other types of reviews, please check us out, NintendoFuse.com, as well as subscribe here on YouTube. You could also find our podcast, you could find interviews, and a bunch of other Nintendo related videos. So, thank you, Steve and Greg, for joining me today, and we'll see you all next time.